emerging from a burning building into the fresh air. That's what transitioning into a new phase of life can feel like. But this isn't a disaster. It's a quiet vanishing. It's as though the soul has dimmed the lights of existence and forgotten to switch them back on. You've ceased striving, abandoned roles you once clung to, not out of despair, but because of a sacred exhaustion. What follows is an emptiness that is strangely soothing, yet eerily still. Then comes the whisper of an unsettling question. Why do I feel hollow, even though it seems I've finally grasped the truth? This is the paradox rarely discussed. We believe that spiritual awakening will ignite purpose within us, will grant us clarity. But for many, especially those who are sensitive and deeply introspective, awakening does something unexpected. It empties the vessel, sweeping away false motives until even desire itself feels alien. In this emptiness, we often mistake awakening for apathy. I think of a conversation with a friend, deeply spiritual, an avid reader of Tola, Krishnamurti, Watts. She had endured a dark night of the soul, attained crystalline understanding, yet a few months later, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I used to cry because I wasn't doing enough, she admitted. Now I don't care if I do anything at all. I thought awakening would ignite a fire in me, but I feel extinguished. Carl Jung called this state a sacred territory between the collapse of the ego and the birth of the true self. It's a liminal space where old motives dissolve, and the new has yet to take shape. This isn't failure, it's individuation, a psychological death necessary for rebirth. But it's crucial to remember. The ego doesn't vanish entirely. It becomes disoriented, stripped of its old scripts, but the new hasn't yet arrived. This isn't laziness, it's a profound spiritual pause. You're no longer asleep, but not yet fully awake to what's next. Jung likened this to nigredo, the blackening phase in alchemy, a period of dissolution after which something new begins to emerge. Modern culture often mistakes this pause for regression, seeking to avoid or suppress it. But this isn't depression, though it can echo its shadows. It's the soul's refusal to participate in a life that no longer resonates. Awakening dismantles the old motivations, those fueled by societal approval. Goals that once seemed vital lose their significance. This isn't loss, it's liberation. You no longer chase applause, realizing the stage was an illusion. And though the silence is unnerving, it's within this quiet that a deeper alignment takes root. Life after awakening isn't an escape from the world, but its embodiment through you. This is not regression, but initiation. In this pause, there is no error, only preparation for the new. If you can endure the stillness, you'll begin to discern its rhythm, the pulse of truth. And then something new stirs. It's not a familiar urge, but a quiet impulse. It doesn't drive you forward, but invites you to be. Now, you are moved not by anxiety, but by inner resonance. Life becomes a dialogue with the unseen, not a monologue into the void. This is not the end of your path, but the beginning of true becoming. Emptiness, when it arrives, feels like a void. Not the kind we fill with distractions or achievements, but the kind that demands to be met without resistance. It's a space where everything you once believed about yourself disintegrates. You find yourself stripped of titles, roles, and ambitions that once defined you. It's terrifying, this loss of self, and yet it carries a strange beauty. To stand naked before existence itself, unadorned by pretense, is to begin to see who you really are. But the question arises, who are you without these things? Without the armor of identity, what remains? In the beginning, the answer feels elusive, perhaps even nothing, and nothingness is uncomfortable. We're conditioned to avoid it. We rush to fill the space with meaning, action, or belief. Yet the essence of awakening lies in staying with the discomfort, in resisting the urge to flee. This emptiness isn't the absence of life, it's the clearing of debris that obscures it. Imagine a room cluttered with old furniture, dusty relics of who you used to be. To make room for something new, you must first let go of what no longer serves you. This process is rarely graceful. It's a dismantling, a kind of chaos that precedes clarity. Purpose is often seen as the pinnacle of human achievement. We're taught to strive for it, to anchor our lives in its pursuit. Yet in awakening, purpose begins to lose its grip, not because it isn't real, but because our understanding of it shifts. Purpose ceases to be something external, a goal to be achieved, and becomes an intrinsic state of being. In this state, the question, "What should I do?" transforms into, "Who am I called to be?" The distinction is subtle, yet profound. Doing implies striving, an effort to reach something outside yourself. Being is a surrender, an alignment with what already exists within. This shift can feel like a loss. Without the chase, life seems directionless. But this is only because we've conflated motion with meaning. True purpose isn't found in constant activity, but in presence. In the quiet, you begin to notice the gentle pull of your own rhythm, the whisper of your authentic self. Awakening demands a kind of death, not a physical one, but the death of the self you've constructed. The self that seeks validation, that clings to roles, that defines itself by external markers. This death is not an event, but a process. It unfolds in layers, each one revealing a deeper truth. At first, this can feel like annihilation, as though the ground beneath you has crumbled, leaving you suspended in uncertainty. But this suspension is where transformation begins. In losing what you thought you were, you make space for what you truly are. It's important to honor this process, to grieve the self that is fading, even as you welcome what is emerging. There is no timeline for this transition. It unfolds in its own time, often slower than you'd like. Patience becomes your ally, as does compassion, for yourself and for the journey. In the midst of awakening, answers are often elusive. The questions themselves become companions. Who am I? What is my place in the world? How do I navigate this new terrain? These questions are not problems to be solved, but invitations to deeper exploration. Living the questions requires humility. It asks you to release the need for certainty, to embrace the unknown. This is not an easy task. We crave resolution, a clear path forward. But the beauty of the journey lies in its mystery, in trusting that each step will reveal itself in time. As the old self fades, a new self begins to take shape. This self is not born of striving, but of surrender. It doesn't seek to control life, but to flow with it. It's a self rooted in authenticity, in alignment with the deeper truth of your being. This new beginning is not a destination, but a way of being. It's a return to simplicity, to the essence of who you are. It's a life lived from the inside out, guided by resonance rather than rules. In this space, you find freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be who you truly are. And so the journey continues, not towards something, but within something. A constant unfolding, a deepening into the mystery of existence. This is the essence of awakening, not an end, but a beginning, over and over again. There's a radical courage in choosing to be rather than to do. To shift from external validation to inner alignment is not a small rebellion, it's a revolution. Society thrives on our productivity, our compliance, our unending hunger to become more. It sells us the dream of enough while ensuring we never arrive. Awakening dismantles this structure, exposing the lie that we are incomplete. But what do you do when the scaffolding collapses? When the old motivations no longer move you, and the world seems to carry on without noticing your absence? This is the silent revolution, awakening not to a new set of goals, but to a new way of existing. In this revolution, the external world doesn't disappear, but your relationship to it transforms. Success loses its glitter, ambition, its urgency. You begin to see the world not as something to conquer, but as something to participate in, to witness, to cherish. The simple act of being becomes the most profound contribution you can offer. After awakening, life becomes a dance. Not the orchestrated, rehearsed kind, but an improvisation, unpredictable, fluid, and alive. The roles we once played don't vanish. They become less rigid, less consuming. You might still be a parent, a partner, an artist, a teacher, but these identities are no longer burdens. They become expressions of essence, not definitions of it. Imagine wearing a costume, knowing it's not your skin. You can still play your part in the story, but now you do so with awareness. The lines between form and essence blur. The mundane and the sacred merge. Washing dishes becomes a meditation. A conversation becomes a sacred exchange. Everything is imbued with presence. This dance doesn't require you to abandon the world, but to engage with it more fully. Not from a place of grasping, but from a place of giving, of being. One of awakening's most humbling lessons is the realization that there is no finish line. Enlightenment, that shimmering goal on the horizon, reveals itself to be an illusion. It's not a destination, but a process, an unfolding that never ends. This can be disheartening at first. We long for closure, for the satisfaction of completion. But life doesn't work in straight lines. It spirals, circles back on itself, deepens. Every insight leads to new questions, every arrival to new departures. What does it mean to live without the promise of arrival? It means finding peace in the journey itself. It means accepting that growth is infinite and that each moment is enough, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. In the aftermath of awakening, there's a temptation to seek extraordinary experiences, to climb mountains, retreat to monasteries, or chase the kind of transcendence that removes you from the mundane. But true awakening brings you closer to the ordinary, not further from it. The sacred doesn't reside in some distant realm, but in the very fabric of daily life, in the sunlight filtering through your window, in the laughter of a child, in the stillness of the morning. Awakening invites you to see the divine in everything, to recognize that every moment holds the potential for grace. This doesn't mean life becomes easy or free from struggle. It means that even the struggles are woven with meaning, that even in pain there is beauty. This is the paradox of awakening. The more deeply you embrace the ordinary, the more extraordinary it becomes. At the heart of awakening lies a love that defies comprehension. It's not the romantic or conditional love we often celebrate, but something vast, encompassing, and unshakable. It's a love that doesn't require you to be anything other than what you are. A love that holds space for your flaws, your fears, your humanity.